What's up? How's it going? I'm Dan Fradenburgh. This is for realestateisascam.com, which you might not believe that real estate is a scam. I personally don't think real estate is a scam, but some people end up getting ripped off. And the nice thing about being very attractive is after you've been ripped off, you're still attractive. So that's what we're talking about today. I've got Yasmin and Michael showing up today. My job is to embarrass the crap out of them. But bigger thing that I want to do is I want to get it straight. What exactly, like, how can you know that you're in a coaching program that sucks? It's a total ripoff. You know, the people running it are a scam artist. We're going to be super duper careful and edit out any mentions of the actual entity that is involved here. But let's start with pleasantries. Yasmin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
Fantastic. And Michael, how about you?
I am doing amazing. So grateful to be here for both of you. This is gonna be a it's gonna be an awesome episode. I'm excited for everybody to hear and learn that let's give them some knowledge to help them so they're not where we are.
I love it. I love it. And getting involved into this business, especially if you're going for the GP route, it's tough. There are a lot of hurdles. It's definitely an uphill battle. And the other problem too is you have some of these groups where the main benefit that everybody realizes from being involved is the people you meet there. So some people, I think, like, I wonder how these scam artists really sleep at night personally, but I'm guessing that that's probably what's going on. But let's first make sure that we're being fair and honest here. And so to go and prove that we're having an honest discussion, first thing I want to mention is my background in teaching languages. And one of the things about teaching languages is you're literally making sounds with your face that make absolutely no sense to the other person. And then if you can get them to copy, imitate those sounds and whatnot, and then they actually make that jump to where they start thinking into that other language, that is an objective form of success that I don't think you can necessarily find in real estate teaching. So, like, can you do a deal after you're done? Sure, that would be a factor there. But as far as like what this experience was that you had, I'll get back to that language teaching part in a second. But who wants to start off as far as like what was your expectation? What were you hoping to get out of the coaching that was basically just a complete scam? Who wants to start off? What were you hoping for?
Do you want to, Michael?
Yeah, I could start off. So with the coaching program, what I believe is that, especially for the amount of money that we spent in it, I would think that we would be able to sit down with a coach for longer than 15, 20 minutes. And, there's plenty of aspects of real estate, being a GP with underwriting, due diligence, what else is there? Capital raising, and so on and so forth. And when you're coming into this business, I had no clue about anything, you know, and I needed people to sit down with me. I'm not just like I can't just sit here and learn off a video that plays for a half hour and be lied to. And they're like, oh, you only need to do a half hour a night, an hour a night. This business is not a half hour a night. This is a 24-hour a day business. I am so engulfed in it now that I own a construction business. I do life insurance and I do real estate. And I'm on my phone 24 hours a day. Meetings. I'm in New York 3, 4 times a week. There's a lot that goes into this, and this was never explained to me. And this also caused problems in my family life, and because I was lied to about certain things, and one-on-one coaching. Oh, you're gonna have a coach for, I don't need an accountability coach to tell me to read a damn book, or you know what I'm saying? That's not
Mhm.
that's not what this is. I need someone to sit there on a computer and be like, listen, Michael, you've put these numbers in wrong. Let's go over this for the next hour, not 15 minutes on an underwriting call and be like, oh, okay, come back to me tomorrow because I got 1,000 more students that need to get on a call with me. No, that's not how real estate works. All right. And I know other coaching businesses that are out there that are unbelievable, that actually sit with you. Okay, sat with me for an hour And now I'm not in any other mentor program. It was just the relationships that I built through what I've done myself. And I'm grateful for the people that I've met because they see that I put the work in, that I want to sit there and learn, and I didn't have to pay these people for a thing, but this is just because of the relationships I built. And I thought that I was going to get that from the coaching program, but just ended up getting screwed.
So what you're also saying then, or at least implying, and let's make it explicit, is you've probably run into some people who gave more value for free than you
Oh my
got
God.
for five figures.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So
Yeah.
so much more value that I can't even I'm so grateful for them, to be honest with you. I'm grateful for the people that have helped me because I at first I was like, screw this. I'm done with real estate. And then I had to check myself at the door because I know the person that I am. And I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. So I got my ass back into the seat and now I really start digging into it. And I'm doing amazing things just because of what I've learned through people that helped me, and I didn't have to pay them. That was the greatest thing, you know what I'm saying? And they know the position that I was in, and they want to help. There is awesome people in this industry that want to help you. So don't shy away from not getting into real estate because of you got screwed. You just have to find the right people.
If you're a physician or an engineer or something like that, and you have to get out of whatever your W-2 is in a short amount of time, these are the people I'd talk to. Beatreits.com. It should be like on the screen or something here. And you can check that out, and I can set you up with a customized training program with the people who already do what you want to do instead of what some of these really crappy mentorship programs out there are doing, which is giving a script written by somebody who knows how to do deals to somebody who has never done them. Anyway, let's continue. Thanks. And you mentioned watching videos online. It's the fact is, I like to make the joke that real estate is the world's second oldest profession, and that's relevant for a couple reasons. One is because it means it's competitive. Second is it's mature. It's figured out. Like people have ironed this stuff out. So could you get an education like more or less for free from YouTube? You could, but then there's just too much information, right? It's just too much. And I think that part of a good coach or trainer's job is to be a curator of all that different possible information. And then, of course, then there's the problem that any course you have, it's going to include so much. Like if it's actually going to be really comprehensive, it's going to include a bunch of things that you're never going to use because, like for example, Texas, it's they don't have to disclose what they paid for a building in Texas, which is a weird little quirk there. If you do business outside of Texas, you're never going to need to know that information. So that's a really interesting one. But Yasmin, you have a history in biotech engineering. So and I think that is relevant because going off of what Michael was saying, it's he's motivated, which is a piece. Like some people definitely need to be motivated if they're actually going to be successful in this, and then other people, they're independently motivated and they could do that. So learning language, back to people who speak Chinese, getting them to speak English and vice versa. That motivation is a key part in if you're going to succeed at all. Like it's like that's a price of admission, full stop. But the other one that will come up where it has an interesting factor in language, which is intelligence. That's why I think that it's important to let people know you're in biotech engineering, which means you're cool with calculus and heavy duty math. And yet still, so and really what I'm trying to do is get to that idea of I don't want to, it's not you, it's me sort of thing. In this case, I wanted to say it's not you, it's the other guys. But back to the original question, what exactly were you looking to get out of training from this program that you felt it just wasn't even there? Can you think of a thing or two?
Oh, I can, and I'm trying to condense it so I don't take forever. But okay. Essentially, I know that you started off with a little bit of background for you. I'll just give a quick background for me. My first experience teaching is when I was 6 years old. My younger brother was born with speech impediment. So I would help him learn how to express his thoughts on paper because his mind was going at 90 miles an hour and his mouth and his hands when he was writing couldn't keep up, right? And then it turned to the point where, like, yeah, he had a speech therapist, but that was only 1 day a week. And he needed help every day with his homework and every day with just speaking. And I just by default was that person. Fast forward to high school, he aced all his papers with his eyes closed, and now he's a business major in college. So he is fine. Like, you would have never known he ever had speech impediment. And then later in life, between the ages of 15 and 21, worked 10 different jobs. 10 different jobs. One of them was teaching little kids how to swim, and I worked with special needs kids. One of them was as a private tutor, and again, I worked with special needs kids, other kids with speech impediment. They're my favorite because I think that they are brilliant, actually. They're just a kind of brilliant that we ordinary, boring people don't understand, right? But they're really, really fun to work with.
Mhm.
And then, there was another job teaching people Spanish as a language. I was in the language center at my college. So I've always been a teacher, like by default, like growing up, right? And then now I run a business in financial services. So I also do life insurance, I do pensions and retirement and financial education. And I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And I train agents to do the exact same thing. I have agents under me that I train, and I am their mentor. So I think going into the program that I went into, I expected from them what I would have expected from myself as a mentor, right? And knowledge is completely useless if you don't use it. And I can't tell you how many people study for a real estate license and never become a real estate agent, study for a life insurance license and never actually successfully sell life insurance, study for this or that, and then don't. I know people who graduated college with me that are working in construction, and they did not graduate college to be working in construction. So knowledge really, especially in the age of information, I think the problem is that the knowledge is all floating in the air and no one knows what the hell to do with it. And so I think that's where mentorship really comes in, right? Is when I train my agents, I do client calls with them, just like with like a doctor would, right? Because you can't take being a doctor lightly. For years, you're shadowing the head surgeon. You're shadowing, you're watching, you're learning one on one, like all those fine details of how do we do the surgery from point A to point B. I have people shadow me. How do you do a client call from point A to point B? I get in touch with them, just like Michael said, I get in touch with them 3 times a week. We do coaching calls 3 times a week, me and each person I train, and I train multiple people. And then I get to this day coaching from my mentor in my business. And I've known my mentors for over about 3 years now, right? Like, we're family. I watch them give birth to their daughter, like the whole 9 yards, right? And to me, that's what mentorship is like your mentor becomes a kind of special person to you. And my mentor never reached out to me in the real estate program that I signed up for. My personal mentor in my own business, I've been to his house. I know his wife and his daughter. We talk every single day. And that's what I do to the people that I mentor. And I talk to them about everything, like life and business. So I teach them all of it because it's all related, right? When you're a grown up, you realize like every section of your life is related. There is no such thing as separation. Like, we don't separate that kind of stuff because the lessons you apply at home, you apply in business. It is what it is. So,
Mhm.
my actual mentor in the real estate program, I had to reach out to that mentor to say, like, Happy New Year's. How are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was going above and beyond. And obviously I always got like a Happy New Year's like in response, but that was it. It's kind of like a ghost. And I'm like, what the heck? I paid 5 figures, like not just a few thousand, like tens of thousands for this. And like, what? Like, you're not even, so there was no relationship there. There was nothing, and that we weren't taught how to apply the information. So again, there's so many YouTube videos out there about real estate and information just circling around on how to do this and how to do that, but it doesn't matter if you don't apply it. And that's what I wanted from this. I paid the extra money so that somebody could walk me through the way that I walk my agents through things, right? And I've taught my agents how to build successful businesses and have successful client calls and everything from point A to point B, getting the client, making the sale, making it happen. I never got that in this program. So that's what really, I was like, okay, so I paid for videos. Cool.
5 figures of videos. Yeah, that's That's a pretty scary prospect. There's no two ways about it. And I know that like a big part of it would be like what promises were made that just weren't kept rather than, like if things are like, I'm just saying from a legality standpoint, and I'm just trying to, wrap this around in my head myself. Michael, I imagine you probably had some more comments because, Yasmin, she touched on a lot of bases there. Any other thoughts you want to add before we move on to our next question line?
Yeah, yeah, it was just like you were just saying, like I was told certain things. So even, when we were at face to face at the 3 day, oh, you're gonna get this, you're gonna have, someone assigned to you, just you. You'll be working with them for this many hours and that many hours, and they're gonna do this for you, and they're gonna help you, underwrite deals. They're gonna help you find capital. And when I first started, I'm like, I had an accountability coach and trying to keep me accountable, but to do my daily affirmations and read my story to myself. Like, yeah, that's just my routine. Like, that's just the person I am. I don't need someone to tell me, it was ridiculous. Let's just say that. And then, like I said, they didn't follow through on anything they said. And it
Mhm.
was just, I got fed up after a while at these people. And then it was just like I kind of stopped, and it was like, all right, I just let $40,000 go out the window, you know.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, I had to pick myself back up. And people like you, Dan, are are who brought me back to the game, to be honest.
I really appreciate you saying that. I'll tell you what it reminds me of though, just for anybody who doesn't know my background, and I promise this is super duper relevant. So because I worked for a CRM company and then opened up my own agency, it meant that I was working with clients who already had an online business that was just humming along. And so when I started doing CRMs for real estate people, I noticed that the guy who I was working for, he had 10 transactions going on every single month. So he was a house flipper, and that was for years before I did it. And before I made the jump and said, okay, I'm going to, start owning real estate for investment purposes personally. But, here I am. I found out my boss was making 40K a month. And when I would look at the different systems and like, how does he act differently from the other bosses I'd had previously at these small companies that, also were doing, decently well, 7 figures in revenue anyway. Maybe they'd have extra things on the go, but like, what are the personality differences? And one of the biggest things I noticed, especially after I hit 6 figures in salary, was it's really difficult to get somebody with means to do anything at all if they don't want to do it. So there's a fundamental bottleneck that scared the crap out of me about the coaching industry. And that is, if you actually want the best people, in other words, the people who are actually doing a whole whack of deals day in, day out, they've done years of them, right? Getting them to commit to doing something, it's a huge bottleneck. It either has to be like an outrageous amount of money, but like, like if they're flipping a house, like I know that for us, if you flipped a house the way that the training did, on average, you'd make about $37,000 per flip. Okay. And I don't know how about you guys, but I don't think it takes too many $37,000 flips before you start to get a little bit lazy, and you're just like, it's like, you know what? Do I really have to be in a rush for this next deal? And so like getting the coaches who can actually do it is really tough. And so when I see a huge marketing machine, and I see, like everywhere I look, I see people who have been ripped off by this exact same organization. First of all, I'm going like, how the hell did they get a hold of them so that I can get a hold of them first and say, no, okay, like if you're thinking of opening up your own business, the simplest one out there has to be buying a vehicle that's the intended use is going to be like Uber or delivery of some sort, right? So you understand that investment. And the idea is, even if you buy a crappy car, a crappy vehicle, well, you still have something that you can make money off of for something else. But training is a little bit more insidious, because once that money's gone, it's just gone. And I'm concerned about the just the fact that people are like they're throwing this money away, but they could have had something to show for it that's a whole lot better. I don't like. I think that was more of a conclusion than a question. I don't know if that gives you guys anything to comment on, or if you just want me to go on to my next point. Anything to mention on there?
Yeah, it was funny when you said there was something that you said that really clicked for me. And I think it was after they do a certain amount of deals, they're going to get pretty lazy because they're going to get comfortable. So
Hmm.
I think that, if you are signing up for any coaching program, this conversation is about real estate. Be very mindful of how much it costs, because I think that there's a threshold where if someone is getting paid a little bit too much and it's not for a good reason, like if you're not working one on one with a legend like Tony Robbins or whatever it is, right? Like if they're getting paid too much, then they're getting paid anyways. And they might not care if they're a good coach or not, right? So for me and my brokerage, the way that it works is like, I remember speaking to my mentors years ago, and they already had a thriving business. Whether they worked or not, they were making six figures of passive income. And then their mentor was making millions passive income, whether he worked or not. And they're all like in their early 30s. So they continue to work because they're like, I'm not just going to do nothing, right? So they work because they want to. Either ways, they're financially free. And I said, oh, okay, like how'd you get there? And they were like, it took us a few years of serious trial and error. We had to train people. People quit on us. We had a brokerage that blew up and then shrunk and then expanded and then shrunk and then until it got to a comfortable size where now it's a well-oiled machine and it does what it's supposed to do. And so that's what they were and are still walking me through. And they said, your reward for being a good leader is the financial freedom. If you aren't financially free yet, it's because you haven't led enough people. You haven't built a brokerage. You haven't built a team. You haven't inspired enough people and trained enough people. And so that really pushed me, and it still pushes me every single day to wake up, whether I'm in the mood or not. I need to be the best leader that I can be to all the people that I'm mentoring and to all the people that I will mentor down the road, because the reward is only based off of the results. So like if I'm a good mentor, then I'm financially free. Whereas in this case with this real estate program, it was like the money was paid up front, 20 to 40 grand. They're getting paid anyways. They're nice and comfy. Unless they really have the heart for it, there's nothing else motivating them or giving pressure to them to be really, really good one-on-one mentors.
Well, who needs to be when you have $40,000 times probably 50, 60 every other weekend that
Mm-hmm.
funds your fund to go fund? I might as well just gave them the damn 40 grand to go put into a fund to make money off of it. I probably would have made better off of that, to be honest with you, because that's exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
No one's dumb here. That's the whole thing. As I started to learn more in this industry, I'm just like, oh, this is what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Like this is exactly what they're doing, because they don't need it. Don't take them. Their whole system is built
Oh
now.
yeah.
Everything's built for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to build new offices here and build new offices there. I know what it costs. They're making probably a few $1 million, probably more than that. They're probably doing about 8 million a month with every weekend with what they're doing. Okay, and I know what it costs to build a building. You know what I'm saying? I know that it doesn't cost that. So where else is the rest of that money going? All
Exactly.
right. So, okay, let's just put it into this so we could build some more. And then, oh yeah, let's see, we're doing all kinds of deals now. Let's show them that, oh, we are doing all these deals and we're doing it. Yeah, you're doing this with everybody else's money.
Exactly.
That's what's
So I
going
think
on.
for the viewers, the big lesson is like, how much is what you're looking at cost? If somebody is asking you for too much, you're likely being ripped off.
Exactly.
Point blank.
Exactly.
I love that. And
I
so,
would
like, from
say,
an go ahead.
no, I would say anywhere between 8 to, depending on who it is, 8 to 15 to 20 grand is like, but know who you're going with, because I know other mentorships out there that they guarantee you to close a deal within a year, or else they keep working with you. There's certain mentorships, just know what you're getting, know what you're signing, and that was the mistake that I made. I was so excited about getting into the industry, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do this, I'm a go-getter, and then bam,
And that's what
I
it is.
just got shot
Marketing,
on.
excitement, right? So another thing,
Scarcity.
monitor your emotions, because it's lovely being excited about something. It's lovely being hyped up. but you know, the wrong people will prey off of that in their marketing scam.
Hey there, I'm Dan Fradenburgh, and I want to talk about beatreits.com. There aren't many promises you can make online when it comes to success in real estate, but one of the things that does come up is I went to my successful friends and I said, hey, I think you are perfect for teaching one particular part of the entire ecosystem of real estate, and I have that on offer for you to enjoy. Beatreits.com. It should be like on the screen or something here, and you can check that out, and I can set you up with a customized training program with the people who already do what you want to do, instead of what some of these really crappy mentorship programs out there are doing, which is giving a script written by somebody who knows how to do deals to somebody who has never done them. Anyway, let's continue. Thanks. Yep. So the thing I was going to mention too, I gotta confess that one of the reasons why I came up with the idea for my real estate education platform site to be called Real Estate is a Scam.com. Part of that was because Facebook in the mid 2010s decided that real estate is a scam. And so that's why they started getting people to pay through the nose for the pay-per-click ads. So for one-on-one coaching at the company we were at, I remember paying $38 per click to get people onto that application page. So like, it's serious money. So like, I think that's one thing that if you've been behind the scenes in a coaching organization, you get to find out that margin is squeezed quite a bit by the online platforms. But I'm not trying to say that what these guys are doing isn't disingenuous. It's a real problem, because like I've heard all sorts of reports that are utterly hearsay, which is a big problem. Like I don't really want to give too much credence to them, but just basically people complaining about the inexperience of the coaches that they have, and like I don't know if that's something you can say firsthand, or if it's wiser to just pass it. But I see some
No.
heads nodding. So
Yeah, no.
go ahead.
Who's going? You want to go?
You can go.
All right. So none of the big coaches are doing deals. None of them. Maybe there was one, but
Like
that's
the main guy
between
who's in front of all
thousands
the
of.
ads.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you call in and you're like, oh, what's this, about this deal? And it's like, oh, I have to call this person and then call this person and then get a hold of this one. And I'm like, what is this? What is this now? Like, are you guys really even doing deals? Like, is that, and then that's when we started figuring out it was a scam. And you know what? I started getting on calls with other students from the program. And listen, I'm straight up blunt and honest about things, and I'll tell them right now that they're garbage. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I've known people just recently, a couple of weeks ago, that were at their 3-day program, and I told them, I said, listen, walk out the door now. Don't even think about joining. I'm like, I saved probably about 15 people from going into it, because it's just like, if you really need help, I have people that will help you, that could bring you to where you want to go. You know what? Go spend your money the right. I've made that mistake and I don't want to see you do it. And that's my biggest whole thing now. I've been learning so much in this game that I want to be able to bring back to people and give back and show them that this industry is really awesome, that there is amazing people out there that truly want to help you and not rob you for your money, and will walk you through step by step. So don't shy away from this at all, because it is one of the best camaraderies that I've ever built. And the thing is, I deal with a bunch of entrepreneurs that understand my mindset, that understand, they help me pursue my dreams, because they understand what dreams are and goals. And that's the biggest thing. My dreams and my goals are validated by these other people, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful.
That's,
Yeah.
it really is. It really is. So one thing I have here from this group, and I can honestly say, honestly, it did not come from either one of you, which makes it much better legally. So the fact that it's true makes me so happy. So I've got three numbers right here, and so this is where I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit further than some of you in the audience might be prepared for. But it has to do with underwriting and the actual deal acquisition strategy. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Yasmin's a financial advisor. So that means like that was the other thing I wanted to emphasize here. This is so like, as far as the pieces of the puzzle to get involved in real estate, especially commercial real estate, understanding math is one of them. Okay. I would also say another part of learning underwriting that is vitally important is how people cook the books. Okay. It's like, how do you make those numbers look more appealing when they're not really great? And of course, like if you actually know the law, it gets even scarier. Okay. Because like you say, it's like, okay, yeah, invest with me. And then it's up to the investor to say, okay, so what exactly is your business plan? What are you going to do with my investment of 50K, 100K, 150K, 250K, whatever it is? Okay. It's legal to say, okay, our business plan is to take your money, put it in a pile in my driveway and light it on fire. I'm going to literally light your cash on fire, and I'm expecting to get a profit. We project, the profits to be about 10% per year. That makes no sense at all, but it's 100% legal. It's one because you disclosed it. As long as you tell people what you're doing with their money, it's okay. It's like, yeah, so we were supposed to replace the doors on 5 different units. I got a Corvette instead. It's scary that you can do that, right? So like that's basically where the law sits on all this stuff. But as far as finding the actual strategies, finding the actual deals, there are a few different approaches. One of them, it's more suitable for like a doctor, like somebody with a network of high net worth, high wage earners, high salary earners, things like that. That play is to get a bunch of people in your network, so that, like, get their wheels turning, and then you're the person with the ear to the ground. You're the one who knows the deal sponsors that are reliable. And then what you do is you create a fund and you say, okay, put it into the fund, and then these are the individual deals that you're doing. So that's one option. And then you get steadily more involved as you switch the other gears, like you can be somebody like me, where I'm, instead of being a doctor, I actually am full-time interacting with different deal sponsors, getting acquisitions that way. And then the next level is you get the properties under contract yourself and become the issuer. Okay. So the issue I want to say, though, is part of that last one, which I'm not sure how much they discussed this in that program that you guys went through, but I do think these numbers here reveal that they are going from an approach similar to one of the mentorships that I went through, which can best be described as a direct to seller deal strategy. Okay. And so what that means is you're knocking on doors, you're calling up people who own a building and saying, hey, do you want to sell me your building? More or less, right? Now, it's pretty easy to make a case that strategy, teaching that strategy, is 100% a scam. And the reason for that is because I don't know who in the audience hasn't heard of this, but there's a type of person out there called a broker. And what I just described is 100% what they actually do. They're just bugging people all the time. Let me sell your property. Let me sell your property. Let me sell your property. Very often, some of these actually even went to high school with the owner of the building, and they're hitting them up once every couple weeks, maybe once a month or something like that. And if you're nobody just getting into this business, do you really think that you're going to pull that off? Like really, 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 it's no. Like, so like, and so like, I don't really want to go too far into that, but the numbers that I heard were debt service coverage ratio of 1.4%. Or sorry, 1.4 times is 1.4. Then cash on cash, you want 9% or more, and you should be buying at cap rates of 6% plus. Okay, so for me, that sounds like you're going to pull that off if you do direct to seller, and you're going to be doing one deal every 3 years.
Mhm.
It is basically what I think you'd be looking at if you actually stick to your guns on that. And I can be quite certain that they weren't saying that, but like those three numbers there, like how, like that's just me from the total outside. I haven't even read one of their sales pages, no less been involved in their actual stuff. What are your remarks, your thoughts? Do you feel I'm out to lunch? What do you think?
I think so much. Okay, one really big thing about this underwriting thing. Okay. So, you in the audience, listen up. If you want to be on a GP part of a syndication, you want to get into, there's many forms of real estate, right? I'm talking multifamily apartment buildings, multiple units, not like the little triple decker or the single family or the house flipping or what, specifically syndication. Okay. So there's different roles that people play in a team, and you should know a little bit of everything, and then, find something you're really good at and then specialize in that, in my opinion, from my experience. I did engineering, so I understand numbers. So I thought I was going to be an underwriter. I actually enjoy talking to people and networking a lot more. So it's like, can I understand numbers? Sure. I've done the engineering. Do I like crunching numbers all day? Absolutely not. If you like crunching numbers all day, Dan has other videos with Jason Williams. Go check out his videos. He's absolutely amazing. I got more out of Dan, Jason, and Angel Williams than the program that I paid $20K for, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch their videos, go to their website. Big shout out to you guys. Like, I learned so much about compliance from Dan, and you need to know compliance because that's legality. And like, it's this thing where like, if you don't know it, oh, well, it is your fault that you don't know it. But then, the program I paid for didn't teach me that. So like, what the heck? Anyways, back to the underwriting. What I learned is that if you really want to be a good underwriter, you need somebody who's experienced, who's done deals, to be your mentor and help you and sit with you like a child and walk you through it. Why? Because if you learn underwriting from a video, it's not going to cut the cheese for you. Why? I live in Boston. Some of the deals I've underwritten were in my neighborhood. Some of them were in Florida. Some of them were in Texas. Like, everywhere is going to have different insurance rates, different this, different that, different building structure. The cost of repairs is going to be completely different because the cost of labor is different. The taxation is different. Everything's freaking different. Okay? So underwriting is not a one size fit all. And another thing is that I realize underwriting is not look at the numbers, oh, the building is bad. Guess what? If you do that, you'll never get a deal. You're supposed to make a deal work. So there's a creative aspect of it where you're supposed to negotiate terms and conditions and so on and so forth and play around with the numbers until you find a deal that you can make work. Some deals are bad. Underwriting does help you find out what's good and bad. But then there's this funny gray space in the middle where it's like, this deal could be good if we do it right. And how the hell do you figure that out? I didn't learn that through my program because I didn't have a mentor who actually sat with me and helped me figure that out. I just watched a bunch of underwriting videos and got a headache because they'll show you how to underwrite with these like perfect documents. And then when you're actually going to mom and pop owned buildings that they don't have any documentation, they write all their bills on a napkin or on toilet paper, you're like pulling your hair out of your head because you don't know how to deal with somebody because you're like, what the heck? Like, I don't know what your trailing 12 statement is. And they're like, well, we don't have one. And then they just make up, this is how much this costs off the top of their head. And like, yeah, it's a whole ordeal. So when it comes to underwriting and actually understanding how to find and source the deal, it is not as simple as people make it to be. That doesn't mean it's impossible. You can do it, absolutely. But have a mentor because otherwise you're going to end up searching for so long. Like, I've underwritten, my husband has underwritten hundreds of deals. We've sourced so many, and he's actually a realtor. And it's hard for him to get people to give him the information for their buildings. And he's a realtor at a big brokerage. And so he has the credibility, and it's like, it's just driving us nuts. You know what I mean? So then, if you're paying 20 to 40 grand for a mentorship program and they're just giving you videos on how to underwrite, you've been scammed. Like, you actually need to be walked through on how to think, because it is an entirely different ballgame and it requires creativity, and you need to know how to think. You need to know how to be creative, how to make it work. And you're only going to learn that from people who have done it many, many times. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my
Mm-hmm.
spiel.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said
Exactly.
that, because I think you really put it to bed, the fact that it's not a matter of intelligence. It's not like, you can't figure this stuff out. It's just that there's no viable way to use what's there and succeed. I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Greg Scully, because like intelligence is so important. As a factor to understand on, like, is this program a scam, this other entity, like are they really just total scammers? Is that what's going on? And me, I got an episodic memory, so it's like a TiVo. It's not a perfect TiVo, but at least like I can replay events, conversations, and stuff like that in my head without much of any effort at all. And so what I'm really getting at is that I tend to be I pick up theory unbelievably easily. It's really simple for me to do the book side of learning. And and then as far as experience goes, like I'm always recording, like mentally I'm always recording whatever I'm doing. So it's like when I do it next time, I say, yeah, I saw the guy do this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did it, and then that's how he did it. And it'll, like, I'll watch somebody do it one time and I'll have most of it already figured it out by the time he's done. Okay. And so the thing that I asked Greg Scully out in East Tennessee was, I was like, so why is it that everybody complains about coaching programs being like the 10,000, 30,000 foot view and not getting into specifics? And I understand the fact that the whole business model of teaching is that if they're not teaching, they're not making money. So they have zero interest in letting you, quote unquote, graduate. Okay. They have a vested interest in keeping you dependent. And that's pretty crazy. So I was asking Greg, it's like, so what exactly is that separator? What is the difference between the theory and the reality? When you find yourself, okay, I'm finally a GP, I own part of a commercial real estate building. Why do you turn around to your education and go, that was a lot of extra time spent on things that just aren't helping me right now? And his answer, which is why I keep on giving him the shout out, is that as soon as you own a property, all of the generalities and all the stuff that's going around the United States, it stops mattering. All that matters is local to your property. It's like, okay, so it doesn't matter if you're allowed to do this in Texas, you're not allowed to do this here. Like, there are some states that you're not allowed to wholesale, for example, and or be a bird dog, but yet people will still teach that in real estate. Oh yeah, go out and just find a property, get them under contract, and then just pass it off to somebody else. And they'll neglect to mention the fact that if you're not an accredited investor, then you have to do a 506B syndication, and that means you're not allowed to talk to anybody new, and you only know one sponsor. So that means if the sponsor says, hey, if you don't want to lose all your earnest money deposit that you put down to get the place under contract, you have to work with me. So you're going to have to take a little bit of a haircut. It's like, I'd want to choke somebody for that,
Mhm.
and it's like, I don't know another way of putting it. It's, but like, that's some really intense stuff. So like, where does that stop off? Yasmin, you said a bunch of things. I said a bunch of things. Michael, what's going through your head right now?
I got a lot going through my head now.
Right. Right.
Um, I just wished I learned a lot of this sooner.
Mhm.
And like how to start looking at, I wish I learned how to start looking at deals and like knowing that I can actually find them in my backyard. I was told that I had to go to different states and certain states. And, when I actually started really digging deep into this, I found out that I could do deals in my backyard. Like,
Mhm.
there's deals everywhere in this country. And yes, you know, piggybacking off of what Yasmin was saying, you you need to know different things about different areas. So what I suggest that you do is you stick to certain areas, you stick to certain markets because you can't jump all over the country. You know, I was taught that, oh, you can go to Texas, you could go to Georgia, you got to go in these certain states. And it was just like, I need to know so much. There's so much to know in this business. And, you know, I started learning that. I was like, you know what? I need to start focusing on one aspect here and not jump around into, you know, this state into that state. And I started to look in my backyard. And once I started looking in my backyard, it's like my whole world opened up for me. You know, deals
Mhm.
started falling into my lap, and I was like, oh, okay, I could do this here. Like I was lied to saying that I couldn't do this. You know, oh, don't do it in Connecticut because, you know, of the
It's
renter
not
laws and
landlord
this and that.
friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not landlord
Yeah.
friendly. And I'm like, you know what? I've made more in my backyard than I have in any other state. So
Mhm.
don't be discouraged at where you live. That's a huge thing. Please don't.
Yeah, sure. Like one of my big things as I got into this industry, I ended up meeting all sorts of attorneys and becoming friends with them. And what I noticed is as they were making deals, they were without fail hiring local attorneys on every single deal. Which that seems pretty weird because I'm going like, okay, so I've read the Constitution. I'm talking about me personally. I've read the Constitution of a few different countries. I've taken entire courses from law school online, but without the tests and all that kind of stuff because like I don't really need any paper and I have no interest in becoming an actual attorney. But like going through all that, it just didn't add up. It's like, well, if you're a good attorney, why like what's stopping you from doing it? But that's really their trick. So, but of course, that's also out of reach for most people. You're not going to be, just on a whim saying like, yeah, sure, I got 15 grand for a local attorney to help them button up this deal. You run out of 15 grands is rather quickly.
Yes. Yes, you do.
So, yeah, so
Yes, you do.
that's some awesome stuff. But so this stuff is complicated. There is math. The math is not as hard as you'll get in biology, chemistry, or electricity. That's absolutely for sure. If you're a programmer, like my whole thing for learning underwriting is I was going like, I am amazing at algebra and I know how to program. So I don't really need to get my head around this too much because I'm sure somebody will pay me to learn it eventually. And, because I'll just be doing it's like, okay, so this is what needs to be in there and program it up. But I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is I want to explain why underwriting can't be done in 15-minute pieces. It can't be done. Okay, so the reason so one thing about hanging out with a guy like Jason Williams, PhD out of Wichita Falls, Texas, that's Lauren Capital, when you go into his underwriting spreadsheet, you'll realize it's not just like what you see on an offering memorandum. Okay, it's the entire business plan. It's the explanation to your investors what is projected every single month along the way and figuring out, well, why is that? Like, are we going to be in the black every single month on this property? It's like, well, we should be, shouldn't we? Well, if you really know what you're doing, you're going to find out it's like, well, we would, except for in May, for example, there's a lump sum insurance payment that comes in every
Mhm.
single year. So, that's going to make it so that the income is less than the expenses, but we're going to make that up in August and October specifically, like that sort of thing. That's part of underwriting. So I know I'm a pretty talented speaker, but like in 15 minutes you're not going to be getting your head around it's like, okay, this is a business and like I guess so there's the math, that's part of this business, the people, that's the other part of this business, and people are so freaking complicated, and then the other one's nature. Freaking nature you have to have a grip on. Okay, and what am I talking about? I'm talking about what's also known as civil engineering or geological engineering. In other words, what kind of bedrock you got under your building, Okay, is that going to
Yes.
affect the plumbing, like all that kind of stuff? It's absolutely crazy. So just so that we get to some more specifics, and remember not to mention the name of the scammers, the alleged scammers. So what are some examples of where you just had some serious lunch bag letdown? Who wants to kick it off? Maybe Yasmin?
I feel like Michael has something he really needs to say.
Okay.
Well, no, well, I was just honestly, I was piggybacking what off you were saying. So last night I was sitting and with my partners last night, and we sat for probably about 2.5 hours running over a deal. Okay. Literally 2.5 hours. And this was already underwritten. Okay. So we had new numbers come back to us, and then we're looking at CoStar reports, and we're looking at the area. Okay, market rent throw isn't where it's supposed to be at. All right, the deal looked great. And then so I'm looking under yearly projections, and I'm like, guys, listen, our market rent throw is too high right now. Okay. And so I went in there, put it at like 2.5% yearly right now in a certain area. And it just absolutely killed the deal because of the rent growth. You're just not making that growth every year. Um, and we just, and then it's like, okay, how now we have an assumable loan now. All right, now we have to keep going back in and changing, rates and with the price, and it just, it changes every single minute when you're underwriting. There's so many
Hmm.
different variables, and then it's like, all right, what's our business plan look like? How are we gonna, all right, they're already doing rubs right now, so we can't make anything off of that. Okay, so okay, we had to add in some trash valet, certain other aspects of it. All right, now the deal looks decent. Oh, okay. Oh, now this popped up, this expense popped up. Now it's, so there's a lot of back and forth with underwriting, and like you could play with the numbers in underwriting.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
so much play in the numbers, and you could make a deal work, but it has to be realistic. You have to be realistic within the market that you're in. I have to
Hmm.
say that, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
you have to really
yeah. So,
go
so the
ahead.
thing I was going to add on top of that is, I think for any investors that are in the audience, I think the thing that you need to make sure of is that whoever you're planning on investing with, you need to be crystal clear that this person is as interested, if not more interested, in your next investment as they are this one. So the real scammers, they're like, okay, we're just going to take them for whatever we can get out of them, and then just like run away. It's like
No.
if you know that it's like, okay, so sure, you're a physician, like you're illiquid right now for whatever reason, but like, what about 6 months from now when there's another deal on the go? Like, can I talk to you then? And just the real pattern is treating people like people, which is why I mentioned those three parts, right? It's math, it's people, and it's nature. But yeah, that's
Integrity.
really something. Integrity, yeah,
And
it's so tough. It's so tough because like for me, I'm just like it just seems like you're biting the hand that feeds, and
exactly.
like it just doesn't make any like it's just it's so short-sighted. But Yasmin, did you have something else like some examples as far as like like where is it falling apart here? Like I want to take a second too to talk about how like how cash on cash you can pay out higher
Mm,
returns than the building is actually making. That's actually possible, but which kind of seems like a shell game. But we'll talk about that in a second. And as far as underwriting goes, what else did you want to say there, Yasmin?
Well, I just want to reiterate what you said that you can't learn underwriting in 5 minutes. So, I actually, in terms of people and psychology, I'm fascinated by it. I like it. So, for me, people aren't necessarily complicated because I can see the patterns. A huge pattern of human behavior is, and we fall into this all the time, especially in today's society, is that we want to avoid discomfort and pain. It's a survival mechanism. Okay. So they do this with your retirements, with your 401ks. They do this with everything. They delay pain. So if somebody tells you, like, we can teach you how to underwrite in 15 minutes. I'm going to say it as somebody who's been an athlete her whole life. I was a swimmer, I was a competitive fencer, I was the captain of the fencing team. I still work out every day. It's kind of like when someone says get a six pack in 15 minutes. Are you really going to believe them? Like, just think for a minute here, right? We live in a society where with Tinder, you can get sex at the press of a button and a date. Amazon, you can get goodies with the press of a button. Uber, transportation comes out of thin air at the press of a button. Uber Eats, food, instant food. Like I noticed that because I was in Africa for a month in January, right? There's no, at my in-laws' house, there was no instant food. So if I'm hungry, guess what? I'm waiting an hour because we gotta chop the carrots. We gotta cook the carrots. Like there's no canned carrots. We make it from scratch. Everything's made from scratch there, right? And I'm like, damn, in America, like no one can handle that. If they're hungry for 5 minutes, they're screaming. They're screaming. They need it to be microwaved. So it's the same thing here with marketing, right? Someone's trying to teach you a skill, real estate, entrepreneurship, like, it's super easy to fall for those ads where there is usually some really well-dressed guy coming out of a Lamborghini walking into a mansion that's probably not his. He's probably renting it just for the show, just for the video. Okay. And he's saying, I became a millionaire in a year through real estate, and this is how you can too. Or, 15-minute, and it works, because if it didn't work, people wouldn't keep doing it, but it works. So
Mhm.
I don't know how many people are going to see this video. If it's 500, if it's 5,000, I don't care. Every single one of you listening to this video, especially to this point, do not fall for like people preying on your need for things to get done quickly. Like
Mhm.
we live in a society where everything is done like shit and rushed. That's not how anything of quality is ever made. I even say as a Bostonian, right? Those old buildings are going to outlive these new ones because people took
100%.
their time. I mean, my dad's a carpenter, right? I did Airbnb projects. I'm gonna finish the second one by this Friday. All my friends ask me, well, when is it gonna be done? I'm like, it's done when it's done. You think it's gonna take 3 months, it ends up taking 6 months because you realize like the floor is uneven and we need to redo the floors and then we need to polish them and then you need to redo the kitchen tiles, and when you want to do a good job, it just takes the time that it takes and you can't be compromising with it. So if you really want to be good at underwriting, where again, so many things come into play, sometimes the bank loans, depending on the market, right, aren't going to be the thing. And so instead of calculating for bank loans, you have to try to learn how to do, this is what my husband's really good at. What do they call it? Creative financing. Okay.
Mhm.
And then that's going to look entirely different on an underwriting spreadsheet than a traditional mortgage for a building. Okay. Creative
Mhm.
financing will look very different. Who are you negotiating with? Are you working with the seller directly so you don't have to go through a bank? How much do you have to raise, and playing with these numbers? It's not like an algebra equation where there's one right answer. It's open-ended. So how do you change the literal way that you think and perceive these numbers? How can you see multiple different outcomes instead of just one? So that was my struggle. Is I did engineering, so I'm used to equations. I'm used to there being one right answer. And that's not how it is with underwriting. There's many right answers, and it's all about being creative, just reiterating that. You're not going to learn that in 15 minutes. It's not a straight line, frankly.
Exactly. There's multiple exit strategies, which is the fancy way of saying what Michael was mentioning, which was like, okay, so are you planning to refinance to get the investor's money back, or are you looking to actually sell? Like, or maybe convert it to a different type of property, highest and best use, all that kind of stuff, right? But the other thing I wanted to mention, which is if I ever become a meme, I really hope it's what me saying is like Grant Cardone's jet. Who do you think pays for that? Those big skyscrapers on Wall Street and all those financial institutions. Who do you think's paying for that? It's clear. So like we have to get out of this habit of looking at the shiny, expensive stuff and saying that must be the person who I need to invest with because he's going to get me that shiny car or that jet or that yacht or whatever. And they're not, because they're busy paying for their own yacht with your money. So find more humble people to work with. Somebody who's just like, yes, I could go ahead and spend my investors' money on a bunch of bullshit that make me feel real, like a whole lot better. But why would I want to do that? Like it's just like, I just don't see where the desire is. It's like, like you're going to wind up on the news. You're going to be utterly disgraced. You're going to have to pay everybody back plus interest. And then when you can't do that, you're going to be facing criminal allegations of fraud, and then it's orange jumpsuit territory. So, like, I don't know, that's what comes to me. But I guess I know we've gone a little bit over time. I'll have a chance for some last words, but before we get to last words, I'll start off with Michael. Is real estate a scam, or do you think these guys are just scammers?
These guys are just scammers. There's, like I said earlier, there is real people out here in this industry, and they're really doing deals. And I'm going to tell you right now, every deal doesn't go perfectly as planned. So I don't care if you see these gurus out there they have problems that go on in their deals. They're going to go on in every one of the deals. So don't think that it's just easy peasy going every single deal. You're going to run into problems with your construction. You're going to run into problems with financing, with investors pulling money out. You don't know. But there is awesome people out there that will help you. And there's one right here. They've mentioned plenty of names. Angel Williams, she's awesome. Listen, the most humble people that I've ever met, like most humble people. And they're just friggin' awesome. Amy Silva's out there. She's an awesome one. I love her. She's just a great woman. And they will sit down and help you and talk to you like a normal person and not be like, yo, I want to take your money so I could go drive a Lamborghini type of shit. No, 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 no. There's just not them. They actually care about you. So yeah, everybody listen out there, keep pushing towards your goals, your dreams. A big thing of it with it too is mindset. You got to have the right mindset. And when you're around people like Yasmin, like Dan, these people, like brighten my mindset up even more. They give me, it's crazy. I get so much energy from them, and it just makes me want to push even harder. It really does. It makes me want to push even harder. And I'm just grateful for you guys that I got to sit here and experience this with you tonight. And I'm looking to take these assholes down, to be honest with you, because I am a Marine and I
Thank you
will
for
come
your
and get you.
service.
So I'm just letting y'all know. I hope one of you guys hear this from the program, because you know that I'm in your program, and I'm coming for you. So have a good one.
Awesome. Awesome. So real estate is not a scam. Those guys are just scammers. You heard it here first. Yasmin, what's your take? Do we have another vote for or against?
It's not a scam. I mean, real estate's been used for as long as humanity, right? It works. It creates generational wealth. Is it immediate gratification? Probably not. Is it fast money? Probably not. But it works. You just got to watch out for the wrong people. That's it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, like it kind of has to be, right? Like I'm saying, like real estate, it has to be the way it is, because there's some people out there, such as myself, who have magically callus-free hands. You would not believe how soft my hands are. Okay. And I've been working with computers and teaching like my whole career in life. So, it's like, sure, I'm handy around the house and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting and all that often. And there are people in this world like Michael and his size who could basically say, it's like, hey, nice place. I'm taking it. If it weren't for real estate giving us a nice civil way to decide who lives where and who doesn't. So I think that's pretty awesome. But as far as
I'm over here picking my calluses over here on my hand.
Literally, when he said his hands were like super soft, like even though I'm a girl on the call, I was like, I can't relate. Like,
that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Michael has calluses on his calluses. But any other parting words to everybody? I guess the best thing to do would be saying how to reach out to people. Yasmin, I'll let you go first. What are the best ways to reach out to you?
so I have a website. It's my name. So which I think is showing here, but it's an A. So just YasmeenAlaywan.com. Full name, YasmeenAlaywan.com. Okay, Alaywan with an A. It's a hard name, so try and also find me on LinkedIn. I have everything there too. So my website, everything. Yeah. You won't
All
find
right.
somebody with my last name, so it can't be hard to find me.
Excellent. Excellent. And Michael, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, think you're a good match for a potential GP team or something like that, how should they reach out?
Instagram, it's multifamily Michael Savinelli. Savinelli is Savinelli. And same thing on LinkedIn. That's where you're gonna find me the most.
Excellent. Same
Plus,
here.
ask Dan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
No, I
exactly.
said
You're
ask if
asking.
you want to ask Dan. There you go.
Yeah, that's the easiest way for sure. And yeah, my name is on here on the screen as well. It's a distinct last name, so I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, where I spend most of my time. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this. My big payoff for that is I just realized that if I have a community of people who understand this stuff and they're just tired of all the fun and games and they just want to like really stick to something, like it. I got a shout out to Aubrey G out in Florida, because she's the one who pointed out that if an LP in a deal, in other words, so a limited partner, somebody who's only there contributing cash and they are not involved in any day-to-day operations or questions or strategies or anything like that, if you invest in a deal, you have the right to turn around to the team and ask whatever questions you may have, and the GP team is basically obligated to tell you the answer. And that may be a fancy way to say it, so people might not pick it up, but that means you can get your education kind of for free while you actually own part of an asset, and you can see, well, hey, wait a second, why weren't there any distributions this quarter? Hey, why were the distributions bigger than normal this quarter? This is very complicated stuff, and the best example that I wanted to say earlier was like in one of our buildings, we've got these efficiency units, these ones that are like little tiny bare bones suites. And when you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just raise rents on everything. Well, those particular ones, like raising rent makes no sense because they're already slightly above market rent. So if you think you're just going to buy a property and underwrite it as it's like, okay, we're just going to raise rents by 10%. If you've been around broke people before, you'll know there's a hard limit to what they can pay. And it might already be what the rent is that's in place. It might be even lower than that is what they can afford. So it's you just got to get your head straight on all this stuff. And that's what I want to say. So I hope a few more of you reach out. You can check out realestateisascam.com to find more of this kind of content, where I go through the different things where, as a digital security guy, I was going like, well, that's not a level playing field at all. And somebody could completely lose their shirt from no fault of their own. And so rather than sweeping it under the rug, I figured, why don't I just do a video about them, get ahead of it, and also explain, and by the way, this is how full-timers make sure they don't lose their shirt for that exact reason. So that's my plug. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate when you guys actually are watching. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for that. And thanks once again, Yasmin and Michael, for joining me. And I guess you can go on and be hot for the rest of your day. That's your
Thank you, Dan.
Awesome.